Hi, welcome to Herbas Kitchen. In today's video I'm going to show you how to make jackfruit fajitas. So as the name implies, the main ingredient for these fajitas is jackfruit. We're getting it from a tin. So jackfruit works really well in these types of recipes. It's usually used as a vegan substitute for pork in things like pulled pork, and that's due to its sort of meaty, stringy texture. It works really well in those recipes, and obviously we think it works really well in this, which is why we're sharing it with you today. So let's get started by taking a look at the ingredients. So for the sauce you can use either lemon or lime juice. I'm just using lemon because that's what I've got. It just gives a sort of citrusy flavour. And similarly for the syrup, again you can use whatever syrup you would normally use, so maple, agave, date syrup, anything like that. For the fajitas themselves, the peppers, obviously you can use any colour you want. I've got red because that's what's in my fridge, and again for the onions, I've only got 2 small onions, but 1 large will be just fine. And the wraps themselves, they're just medium sort of 8-inch white wraps. Obviously I've made sure that they're vegan. Right, so to get started we're going to make the sauce, and then we can just set that aside while we fry the rest of the ingredients. So literally all we need to do is add all the ingredients to a jug and then stir it. So starting with the lemon juice. So just a tablespoon. And then the soy sauce, 1.5. Then the agave. Tablespoon of cumin, tablespoon of smoked paprika. And so with the chilli, obviously you can put more in if you like it a bit spicier. I prefer just to go sort of quite neutral to start with, because I serve my fajitas with chopped chilies anyway, so that way whoever's eating them can make them more spicy by adding the chilies. So we then just stir those ingredients. It should make it's quite a sort of, it's not a paste, it's actually a sauce, because we'll try and fry most of that off when we fry the vegetables and the jackfruit. So a good stir. And we can then just set that aside. So next on the list is to peel and chop the veg. So I've peeled the onions. I can now just go through them. It just needs to be sort of roughly chopped. Okay, and then so the same for the garlic, really, just roughly chopped. Again, I just try to chop it as small as I can. And with the peppers, I actually like to cut them into strips. So take the seeds out first, and then literally just sort of cut them into just long strips. This varies the appearance of the vegetables a bit, and just sort of looks quite nice in the strips, and it goes well in the wraps. Again, just cut into thin strips. So once the vegetables are chopped, we need to then drain and rinse the jackfruit. So with that drained, what I usually do is, so I've got quite a lot of the jackfruit there. So I sort of roughly half of it. I'll just sort of try and just pull it apart, tear it apart, so you get that sort of stringy texture. But only with half of it, because obviously with fajitas it's nice to have some like sort of chunky texture in there as well. So it's just a good idea just to, as I say, just stick to sort of half of it, and all you need to do is just like almost just sort of squeeze it and it pulls apart like that. You can see it's already a little bit stringy anyway as it comes out of the tin. And also don't be sort of worried that it's quite moist. It's quite sort of juicy. There's sort of water coming out of it when I squeeze it. But obviously we're going to fry it anyway. And that will fry it before we add the sauce, so some of that moisture will just boil off basically. Okay, so that's about half and half there. So I'd say we're now ready to get that onto the frying pan. Okay, so let's bring the stove into play now. Okay, so I'm just going to start by just drizzling like a teaspoon or so of the oil. Just move that around the... You see I've got quite a big frying pan, because obviously there's quite a lot to go on it. And then as soon as that's warmed up, we'll start with the onion and garlic. And we'll just give those a couple of minutes. Just to start sort of releasing their juices and softening slightly. So I'm just keeping those moving around for just 2 minutes. Should just separate all of the onions, and it should all just start to soften nicely. So I've given those a couple of minutes. Now I'm not going to add the peppers yet, because I prefer those to be a little bit more crunchy. So I'll add those sort of just before adding the sauce. So the jackfruit is going on next. So I'll just put the sort of shredded stuff on first. So straight away that's sizzling, and obviously that's down to all the sort of liquid that's in those. So we're going to fry that off now. So straight away just get that moving around the pan. And we're basically just going to do this, so we're going to saute it all until this jackfruit starts to A, dry out, and B, start to sort of brown a little bit. You will find some of the jackfruit, some of the stuff that you haven't sort of shredded will start to shred as you move it around. That's not a problem obviously. Just sort of let it do what it wants to. It'll give it a more sort of natural texture anyway. But generally just keep it moving around. Okay, so that's taken a good sort of 4 to 5 minutes just to start the sort of jackfruit browning a bit. I'm now going to put the peppers on. And just give those a bit of a stir. I'm going to give the peppers just a couple of minutes just to soften slightly, but as I said, I quite like those just to retain their sort of crunch. So I don't want to fry them too much. So just 2 minutes. And the other thing just before the sauce is just salt and pepper to your liking. Obviously that salt will sort of draw out some of the more of the moisture from the jackfruit as well. So it's a good time to get that on. So you can see now that the jackfruit has definitely sort of browned up nicely. It's lost its kind of red colour from the tin. So that's now ready to start absorbing some of the sauce. So with the sauce, obviously, usually with, you know, when you buy the fajita kits and stuff, they just come with like a powder seasoning. But I find with the jackfruit, it needs to be able to absorb it. So it's best to do it in sort of liquid form, like we're doing here. So there's not much, but what we're going to do is just pour it on. And it'll only take like a minute, and then it will just start sort of frying off straight away. So just try and spread it as much as you can around the mixture as quickly as you can, because as you can hear, that's sizzling away. But being in the liquid form, it will just absorb that little bit better and easier into the jackfruit. I've tried it with sort of powdered seasonings before, and it just doesn't, you can still taste like, you know, like a watery flavour in the jackfruit. So you can see that's spread around quite nicely now. So there's no jackfruit that hasn't been covered in sauce. We're just going to leave that for a minute. Just move it around slowly if you can, just for a minute, and then that'll be ready to go. So I'm going to take that off the heat now. Slide that out of the way. So, I can't remember if I mentioned at the start, but this recipe will serve about 8 fajitas, and we usually find about 2 each is about right, so we make two wraps each. So I've got some homemade salsa. Look out for the video for that, that's in the works at the moment. And I've got some guacamole, which is just obviously mashed avocado. So we'll put some of each of those onto the wrap, and then just serve some of the jackfruit fajita on top of that. Then we can just roll it up. And there we've got a fajita. So I'm going to take a bite of that now. That is lovely. You can taste the spices really well. The salsa works really well with it as well, and just the avocado sort of cools it down a bit. As I mentioned at the start, you can use sliced chilies or something like that with it as well. We didn't actually have any chilies at the moment, but that works really well just to spice it up a little bit, gives it a little bit of a kick. If you find it too spicy as it is, you can always add some sort of vegan yogurt, or I haven't really tried any of the vegan sour cream that's now available, but anything like that just to cool it down a little bit. So that's those wrapped up. I've sort of overloaded these a bit, so I'm only going to get kind of 5 or 6 out of it, but as I said, you generally can get 8 depending on how generous you are. So that's it, we're ready to eat those. Going to get off and eat them before they get cold. I hope you enjoyed that, and I encourage you to have a go at that recipe. It's nice and easy, nice and quick, and delicious, so give it a go. If you do, leave any feedback in the comment section down below. Be sure to like and subscribe, and check out our website for any other recipes. I'll see you in the next video. Take care.